Okay, so now let's finish up this section. This is the part two to this particular section where we're going to actually go into the specifications and expectations. If you're new to this channel and you would like to follow along with the curriculum, the link is in the description. It is free. You don't have to register for anything. So let's get into it. Specifications and expectations. There are two cases we want to test. The function is called with a string argument. In this case, a customized greeting should be returned. The function is called with no argument. In this case, the general greeting should be returned. Within the described function argument, review the test for case 1. Here is test case 1. Now, let's go back to VS Code for a second because I want to point something out to you. When we write functions, as you look at this function, it's not a lot to it. It's only, like I said, 6 lines of code, and that includes the closing curly brace. And it just seems like, okay, the test shouldn't be too intense, right? Well, let's kind of go over here. We notice here we have two use cases that we want to test for. One, in this function we want to test, and we're using a test nested test function with 2 arguments, which it gives us the actual string to describe what we're testing, and then the function. This is the setup right here. This is the syntax. And it's saying expect. We're expecting something. We're expecting, and we know that this is a function because of the parentheses, hello, and we're passing in a string jest. We're just passing in the string jest to be hello jest. It's dynamic, it's running. We can make this string say whatever we want it to say, but what we're testing is that we're passing in a string, and what we're expecting it to be is hello jest. So if my argument is, because this is the hello function, and this will be my argument. So this argument could be my name, and then we're going to be expecting hello Jess or Terrence. So that's one use case right there. We're testing to make sure that if someone puts argument there, I'm going to return what I'm looking for, which we wanted to return hello concatenate name, whatever is passed in as the argument. Okay, we're going to build upon this stuff, so let's keep going forward. Now, the test function is part of the Jest framework as well. Calling test creates a specification, or spec for short, which is a description of expected behavior. This is the function. This is what we're expecting the function to do, and this is the result that we want. This is what we wanted to return back. This is what the to be is being. It's being method chained right here. We're chaining these methods together. And it says the string serves, let me see which description of expected behavior. The first argument to test is a string describing the desired behavior. Like I said, this is self-documenting here. This string serves to document the test and is also used to reporting test results. These strings will be usually begin with should, followed by a desired action, and we'll explain more. This is what should happen up here. Should, that's what we're talking about right here in this string. Should return a custom message when name is specified. How did we come up with that? If we go back here, we have hello name if name is strictly equal to undefined name world. So we want to pass this as the default. That's what we're writing. And this is the return hello, and it's dynamic name, whatever that argument is, we're looking for it to come back, and that's why we're saying should return. The second argument to test is called a function. This function contains the test code itself, which takes the form of an expectation expectation. So here's the function expectation. This is what we're expecting. An expectation is a declaration of desired behavior in code. Let's examine the contents of the arrow function. So expect, we got the expect right here, and we're saying hello Jest. We're passing in Jest as the argument, and we want it to be for the results or whatever the return is, hello Jest. So this to be represents the return. Calling expect x to be y declares that we expect x to equal y. As you get started with unit testing, nearly all of your tests will take this form. Do you understand what we're saying here? What we're saying is that we're expecting x to be one thing. This is what we're expecting it, a function that is passing in an argument, and we need that argument to match whatever this result is going to be. That's the foundation I want you to understand. This is not the syntax I don't want you to remember, but understanding what it does. The argument to expect is a call to the function hello. The argument to be is expected output from the function called to be. It's a specialized method called a matcher. Remember that term. This is a matcher right here. Matchers in Jest compare the value passed to the value passed to expect. These comparisons are not just limited to checking if the two values are equal. Jest has a wide variety of matchers. Remember matchers, they're matching something, right? Built in, and developers can also build custom matchers. For a full list of the provided matchers, check out the Jest documentation. If the two arguments are indeed equal, the test will pass. Otherwise, the test will fail. In this case, we are declaring that we expect hello Jest to return the value hello Jest, like so. Let's review the final spec for testing our other cases. So here's the other test right here, the second one that we wrote. And this one, it says what? It should return a general greeting when name is not specified. This is what we call the default of the variable when we're passing in a default variable. But we did it in the function that we're checking. The condition, if this is not there, true, if it's not there, then make sure you don't just keep it undefined, make it whirl. So do you understand what that means when we say undefined? Check if it's strictly equal to undefined, meaning that there was no argument given. I want you to pass whirl. This is just best user experience. You got to think of the user experience, and this is what that test is doing. This spec declares that calling hello should return hello world. That means hello right here is empty. You see it's empty right there. No argument was passed. You have to write your test. You write these tests to cover each one of your use cases. That's why it's important to understand how the function works, how we invoke the function, knowing the difference between what the parameter is and what the argument is. Testing reporting. This is a fully functioning test file. I want you to go ahead and run npm test in your terminal to run your test. If all goes well, the output will look like this. So I want you to do this. I want you to play around with this code to make sure you're getting this results. If you're not getting this result, then you got to look back at the code, look back at the function. Now the most important line in the output is this one. 2 pass total 2, this right here. So we got a test suite. We got one test suite, but we have 2 tests inside of the suite. So let's look at that. This is the whole test suite right here. That's one. And then inside of that, you have 2 tests. That's what that means. Now, it tells us that the Jest found two test specifications, because that's what we call the test, the TST, specification or spec, and that 0 of the specs fail, which is good. If our test had failed, then the line would have read 0 passed, total 2. So, but both of them did pass, or it would say 1 passed and the other one failed. Now, in other words, our test passed. Let's see what a test failure looks like. Go back to hello.js and remove the exclamation point from the return statement. I want you to do that and then see what happens. Now run the test again. This time the output looks quite different, as we intentionally made tests fail. The failing test appears below the list of tests. Run this test suite. This describes exactly what went wrong. For the first test, the expected value was hello Jest, but the received value hello Jest, notice that the failure description is the result of joining the two string arguments from describe and test. This is why we intentionally defined those strings the way we did. Put hello.js back as it was and run the test again to make sure it works. So check your understanding. That's the end of this section. Again, you're going to have to understand these functions, how they work, in order to write those tests, because you're testing the function for use case to make sure you're covering every aspect as much as possible, what we call code coverage. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But for now, remember, the more you do, the more you improve. See you in the next section.